Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. I especially want to thank everyone on the stage from the Departments of Homeland Security, Department of Commerce, the FBI, and from our U.S. Attorney's offices, both in the Western District of Washington and the Eastern District of New York. First, I am announcing that a grand jury in Seattle has returned an indictment that alleges 10 federal crimes by 2 affiliates of telecommunications corporation Huawei Technologies. According to the indictment, in 2012, Huawei began a concerted effort to steal information about a robot that T-Mobile used to test mobile phones. In an effort to build their own robot, Huawei's engineers allegedly violated confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements with T-Mobile by secretly taking photos of the robot, measuring it, and even stealing a piece of it. I'm also announcing today a grand jury in New York has returned an indictment alleging 13 additional crimes committed by Huawei, its CFO, its affiliate in Iran, and one of its subsidiaries here in the United States. The criminal activity alleged in this indictment goes back at least 10 years and goes all the way to the top of the company. As early as 2007, Huawei employees allegedly began to misrepresent the company's relationship with its Iranian affiliate, which is called Skycom. Huawei employees allegedly told banking partners that Huawei had sold its ownership interest in Skycom, but these claims were false. In reality, Huawei had sold Skycom to itself. By claiming that Skycom was a separate company and not an affiliate of Huawei, which it actually controlled, Huawei allegedly asserted that all of its Iranian business was in compliance with the American sanctions. These alleged false claims led banks to do business with the company and therefore to unknowingly violate our laws. One bank facilitated more than $100 million worth of Skycom transactions through the United States in just 4 years. Huawei allegedly lied about other relationships as well. In 2017, when one bank decided to terminate its global banking relationship with Huawei over a concern about risk, the company allegedly told other banks that Huawei was distancing itself from the bank, not the other way around. Huawei allegedly did this in an attempt to, among other things, manipulate those other banks into expanding and maintaining their banking relationships with Huawei. There are additional troubling allegations in the indictment as well, including that Huawei lied to the federal government and attempted to obstruct justice by concealing and destroying evidence and by moving potential government witnesses back to China. As has been widely reported, in December 2018, Canadian authorities arrested Huawei's CFO in Vancouver. In compliance with our request for her provisional arrest pursuant to our extradition treaty with Canada, the United States is currently seeking her extradition. We are deeply grateful to the government of Canada for its assistance and its steadfast commitment to the rule of law. The cases we are announcing today have truly been a team effort across multiple U.S. cabinet agencies and across multiple divisions and U.S. attorneys' offices here in the Department of Justice. For more than a year, the agencies represented behind me followed the evidence wherever it led. They have done great work already, and I am confident this team is going to finish the job and bring these cases to a successful conclusion. In a few moments, U.S. Attorney Donahue and First Assistant Hayes will provide more details on today's indictments. But let me just say 2 more things. First, when a bank's customers lie to it about their sanctions-related business, that exposes banks to the risk of violating the law, especially when they continue to provide those bad actors access to our U.S. financial system. And second, as I told high-level Chinese law enforcement officials in August when I visited their country, we need more law enforcement cooperation with China. China should be concerned about criminal activities by Chinese companies, and China should take action. We are proud that the United States has the strongest economy in the world. I believe that is no small part due to our respect for the rule of law. Criminals and bad actors can be certain that they will not get away with criminal activity. But those who do business in the United States can also be certain that the Department of Justice will protect them from criminals, no matter how powerful or influential they are. I think we have shown that today, and we will show that as these cases move forward. I now want to introduce Secretary Nielsen to address you. Secretary?
Thank you. Well, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to keep my remarks quite short, but I did want to just mention that one of the missions of the Department of Homeland Security is to prevent malicious actors from manipulating our financial system to harm our nation's security. We also ensure that legitimate economic activity is not exploited by our adversaries. I'd like to start, as the Attorney General did, by thanking our federal partners, including those behind me today, for the work they have put into this case and for their commitment to upholding U.S. law, something that this administration continues to tirelessly do. Almost 18 months ago, ICE Homeland Security Investigation Special Agents, working as part of the El Dorado Task Force in New York with our other federal partners, were made aware of potential fraudulent activity by Huawei and its subsidiaries. As the indictment charges, the alleged fraudulent financial schemes used by Huawei and its chief financial officer were not just illegal, but detrimental to the security of the United States. They willfully conducted millions of dollars in transactions that were in direct violation of the Iranian transactions and sanctions regulations, and we will not as a country tolerate efforts to circumvent U.S. sanctions to support an odious regime that sponsors terror and threatens the United States and our allies. In spite of the attempts on the part of the defendants to hide their criminal activity and impede the investigation once they became aware of it, HSI conducted an exhaustive international financial investigation that used a broad array of investigative techniques to follow the money that allowed agents to document Huawei's illegal conduct. The ability to follow the money is one of the hallmarks of HSI's transnational criminal investigative work. In fact, the El Dorado Task Force itself has over 25 years of experience in complex financial investigations. Ensuring our nation's laws are upheld take the full force of all of our federal, state, and local partners. We greatly appreciate their partnership. I'd also like to thank the great men and women of ICE Homeland Security Investigations for their exceptional work on this case and for what they do every day to protect our homeland. And with that, I'd like to turn it over now to Secretary Ross. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Attorney General Whitaker, for hosting us today, and thank you to all of our interagency partners at Justice, the FBI, and DHS for your outstanding work on this case. The Trump administration continues to be tougher on those who violate our sanctions and our export control laws than any administration in history. As Secretary, one of my very first actions was to punish ZTE for its violations, and we continue to monitor them more strictly than any other company in our history. For years, Chinese firms have broken our export laws and undermined sanctions, often using U.S. financial systems to facilitate their illegal activities. This will end. The men and women of our Bureau of Industry and Security have been at the forefront of our efforts, and I commend them again for their work. Despite their small size, just 400 or so hardworking public servants, they do an amazing job helping to keep America safe from those who would do us harm. But these DOJ-led indictments also show what our United States government can do when we combine our authorities and bring them to bear against bad actors. I'm very proud to stand side by side with our partners. Together, we are once again putting the world on notice that we will do everything in our power to stop those that disregard U.S. law.
Good afternoon. The charges unsealed today are the result of years of investigative work by the FBI and our law enforcement partners. Both sets of charges expose Huawei's brazen and persistent actions to exploit American companies and financial institutions and to threaten the free and fair global marketplace. As you can tell from the number and magnitude of the charges, Huawei and its senior executives repeatedly refused to respect U.S. law and standard international business practices. Huawei also intentionally and systematically sought to steal valuable intellectual property from an American company so it could circumvent hard-earned, time-consuming research and gain an unfair market advantage. In pursuit of their commercial ambitions, Huawei relied on dishonest business practices that contradict the very economic principles that have allowed American companies and the United States to thrive. And there is no place, none, for this kind of criminal behavior in our country or in any other committed to the rule of law.
And I am comfortable that the decisions that were made are going to be reviewed, either through the various means we have. But right now, the investigation is, I think, close to being completed, and I hope that we can get the report from Director Mueller as soon as possible.
That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.